So this is the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast only on the internet. And this is part A of the day, which is the 28th of June 2021. We are showing less of the actual contents on the pages. And we're going to talk about the morass, the absence of morality and ethics. And we are going to refer to the comments made by the now retired French ambassador to the court of St. James, as the thing is called. The French ambassador to the UK, called Sylvie Berman. And Sylvie Berman has written a book, and as a result of the book and the contents of the book about her findings of life and style and society in Britain, she has been speaking to a number of journalists, British journalists so-called, from Fleet Street. And we have been referring to her interviews given to the Times newspaper, which reported, as we have mentioned, that she thought that Boris Johnson was a congenital liar. And this was followed by The Guardian doing a similar interview with her. And then other outlets, including, as we have noted today, Monday, 28th of June 2021, a piece by the New Statesman and Society. New Statesman Society, we call it New SS because of its role as a fascistic, leftist, racist organ, published, notoriously associated with the so-called the Webbs, Sydney and Beatrice Webb published or founded it. And in connection with their founding, the New Statesman has been wrongly associated with being a center-left or middle of the center. And the tag has misled all the references, because far from being liberal, far from being anti-racist, far from being anti-imperialist, the New Statesman has been racist, imperialist, corrupt, and wicked and narrow-minded. As Sylvie Berman has focused her criticism of the British government, the state, on their apparent inability to come to terms with the loss of, quote, empire. The New Statesman itself is still unable to come to terms with the absence of a British empire. So all the ideologies, all the theories, all the moralities, all the ethical findings about the British corruption, dishonesty, are being denied by the likes of the New SS. And the New SS has got series of so-called editors, including one of the nastiest crooked spies called John Kampfner. This criminal Kampfner is the one that we shall be focusing on in due course, because he tweeted a disgusting, racist, unwarranted reference to our campaign. We never contacted the moron. We never needed to contact the moron or any of the other morons ever. And we don't. None of the Fleet Street criminals making decisions in the posts as various executive editors, whatever. There exists no holder of a post in Fleet Street or in the periphery like the New SS or the Economist who has intellectually anything that we have not seen and have not disposed of or dispensed with. These are very narrow-minded, ill-educated, uneducated, ignorant set of people. And the fact that it has taken a French woman, Sylvie Berman, to point something out that has been obvious to us. I mean, I noticed the corruption and criminality and backwardness and the stupidity and the ignorance well before I arrived in the United Kingdom. It has not changed. And I have had encounters, I have got enforced interactions with criminals in Fleet Street, in the BBC, in the rest of the so-called mainstream media. These people are not well-read, they're not well-intentioned, they're not enlightened at all. Of course, enlightenment is a term that is in conflict with the reality of the mentality and mindsets of these crooks. The fact that it has taken somebody like Sylvie Berman to point out to these criminals the dire, desperate lack of morality and ethics and standards is not an accidental fact. If you look at the papers, which I've been looking at for a very long time, for evidence, not for enlightenment, you cannot find any evidence to justify what Macaulay asserted. So there is a paradox there. If these people are so stupid, so dishonest, by these people I mean those in government, those in parliament, those in decision-making positions, not the many. I distinguish the many from the very few crooks. Few, the crooks, the idiots. And I shall start talking about updating the narratives about Batley Spen by-election and the idiocy of Fleet Street in promoting George Galloway, where Galloway is a parasite. He has been a parasite right from the beginning of his quest for a place. When he was ousted by the Labour Party, Galloway was completely, as we say, crestfallen. Crestfallen because he was crestfallen in January 2006, and we shall go back to the time when he was crestfallen originally after being ousted from the Labour Party. We don't think that the details of his being kicked out of the Labour Party is of moral significance. I have been a member of the Labour Party without accepting even the slightest suggestion that the Labour Party is a moral organization. My membership of the Labour Party has never been about morality or ethics. So we shall keep the morality out of this reference. So George Galloway was crestfallen in 2006, January 2006, when he was caught, exposed, and the most embarrassing, stupid series of photographs and clips, including his pretense that he was a cat and was drinking milk as he knelt before the actress Rula Lenska on the disgraceful program at that time aired by Channel 4 television. Big Brother House. So when the people who didn't want Galloway to be an MP or to be a member of the Labour Party or be in public life found this out, they created, in tactical terms, the most obvious kind of fuss against him. So much so that Galloway would have been ousted if a recall election were held in the constituency, Bethnal Green and Bow. So overcome was Galloway with pressure that he broke down and he was crying, weeping when he came out of the Big Brother house. And I was given the first-hand witness evidence by at least one of the people that Galloway wept too, and wept in front of. So Galloway has never been an original campaigner for ethics or morality. Galloway went to the Big Brother house and he agreed to do anything they wanted him to do in return for money, lots of money, hundreds of thousands of pounds. Let him deny this and let him publish the actual receipts. So Galloway actually is a very fragile individual in terms of the ability to contain defeat. Galloway is a careerist opportunist and has been so all the time that he has been parading himself as a campaigner who believes in the rights of the Palestinians. Now, why does he do that? Because he doesn't believe the most of the things that are done in Britain and by British political establishments and by the British media against the Palestinians. He doesn't make any issue of most of the things. That is to say, the attack on the Palestinians is based on the racist attitude of those who attack the Palestinians, the anti-Muslim attitude on the part of those who attack the Palestinians. And Galloway is silent on most of those attacks. Galloway is silent on most of the issues that constitute racism at every level in this country. So Galloway surfaces, Galloway has got a calculation. And by calculation, I mean it's a selfish kind of purpose. Galloway is not an ideological campaigner. If he were, he would not be an MP. Because ideological campaigning takes away from the campaigner concerned all the material means and resources. And Galloway has always been able to generate a lot of donations. Let him publish all the donations that he receives. All the details of the donations that Galloway has received over his career, parading as a Palestinian supporter. He's not a supporter of the Palestinians. He uses the Palestinians' plight to get himself and keep himself in the media. And he makes intentionally outrageous or stupid claims. No Muslim has got any agenda against the Jewish people based on their faith. But he makes it in a way that misrepresents the Muslims' position as being against the Jewish people because of the criticism by many genuine Muslims of the state of Israel and in its violations, attacks on the Palestinians. The two are not the same. The Jewish people are not the state of Israel. In fact, most Jewish people, given the genuine reflection, would not be supporters of the state of Israel, let alone of the expansion by the state of Israel, the attacks by the state of Israel. These are issues that should have been put on the table of national discussions every single day. But Galloway has been too busy promoting himself as a careerist to do that over the last whatever number of years he claims he has been a supporter of the Palestinian people. The fact that the Palestinians are being uprooted every single day and they have lost most of the land in the last 40 years shows that Galloway has not really been a success. In fact, Galloway knows that as a European, as a white man, he is given extra concession by the Palestinians because they think that that is proof that there is some kind of universality in the acceptance of their plight, because it includes somebody who is not a Palestinian, who is not an Arab, who is not an Asian. And there is a gap there. And Galloway plays with it, and he generates a lot of support, including financial support, for the alleged stand he takes. Now, Galloway is not a Palestinian campaigner, because in the years that he was an MP in the name of Bethnal Green and Bow, Galloway tabled a lot of early day motions. These are just motions that MPs take for the record, table for the record, in the full knowledge that most of their EDMs are never going to be allowed by the speaker to be made into real motions for debate on the platform, on the House of Commons floor. But even if they were not seriously thought to be of monumental acceptability, the list of George Galloway's early demotions or EDMs gives the game away. The man is a fraud politically, because most of his motions are banal and absolutely stupid. And they are not of any relevance to the constituents, either in Bethnal Green Borough, or if he did anything similar, like tabling early demotions while he was sitting as an MP in the name of Bradford West. Everything Galloway says about his belief, his politics, his principle, whatever, comes out to be absolute bogus, fraud. I mean, the stunts that he staged about the kind of road trips to Gaza. These are stunts intended to get him headlines, not protect the Gaza people from the assaults that the state of Israel hurls and mounts against the people of Gaza and the rest of Palestine. So that is the general background. Coming to the Mail on Sunday, which has got the son of the actor Jackson, who was an MP for Camden. Dan Hodges, is as corrupt, as dishonest as any that can be found in Fleet Street. And his piece in the Sunday Mail on Sunday about Batley and Span is an example of how stupid, literally stupid, these so-called special writers are. I mean, Dominic Cummings has been on the record condemning Dan Hodges. But I'm not relying on Dominic Cummings' judgment or the piece of evidence that he relied on. I'm talking about the contents of this piece in the Mail on Sunday yesterday. That is Sunday, Mail on Sunday. The piece this is the piece that Dan Hodges has highlighted. And in that piece, he actually gives more space to George Galloway than to anyone else. And the Mail on Sunday has actually given Galloway the whole page, in fact. Because the other independent heading in favor of Galloway is that he has axed a man called Shami Chima for alleged anti-Semitic social media post. Now let me just say this. Never in the history of the Mail on Sunday has the Mail on Sunday given George Galloway anything like that. And this will not be repeated. Their sole purpose is to carry out the actual plot to get the Tory candidate in on Thursday at the by-election. And that is why they are overhyping George Galloway as a normalized, serious, decent politician who is not an anti-Semite. Yet the history of Jeremy Corbyn being demonized over 5 years, by him being demonized on the alleged ground that he was against the state of Israel, against the Jewish people, shows that Galloway was the only person who was publicly coming on the record time and again defending Jeremy Corbyn. So the Mail on Sunday and the Daily Mail group are not unaware of any of that. And yet they are parading him in the Mail on Sunday as the voice of reason. And even Dan Hodges says that Galloway contradicted himself on Wednesday, last Wednesday, when he actually defended the protesters against the teacher at the Batley Grammar School. Whereas in the rest of the piece, Hodges contradicts himself by reporting that Galloway said that if he were the MP, he would have dealt with it differently. How would he ever deal with it differently than what he said on Wednesday? So the stupidity of the Mail on Sunday, or the dishonesty of the Mail on Sunday, and the stupidity and the dishonesty of Dan Hodges are exposed. Their main purpose is to see the Conservative elected. And to do that by inciting disharmony among the voters, disharmony among themselves. So we shall be talking more about Galloway and showing that Galloway is not somebody who has published the accounts about the money that he has received as donations, money that has been raised out of charity, because the Charity Commission investigated. And one of the things that they found was that there was not enough evidence, enough records, that is. Now, our campaign knows that Galloway was receiving donations in envelopes, cash money that was coming to him or to the Respect Party during Galloway's tenure as an MP in the name of Bethnal Green and Bow. And what Galloway did, he took the money himself. There was no public record of the money being received, so nobody knows the exact amount of the money that Galloway's, quote, party was sent by people in envelopes. So Galloway took the cash directly into his pocket, opened the envelopes, and took the cash into his pockets. If there was any check, he did the same thing. So one of the explanations has been that the reason why Galloway keeps talking about Palestine is because he can then generate interest among the ill-informed and the naive to send him money. Let Galloway deny this, and let Galloway publish all the communications that he has received, and he does receive. Galloway has the audacity in Bethlehem Span to say that outside extremists have come in to the constituency and are creating tension and threatening the Labour Party candidate and Labour Party's canvassers. He is the outsider extremist coming there to incite hatred and sow disunity and so on. So we shall be talking more about Galloway in part A of Tuesday, the 29th of June 2021.